the sentence reflects very, very serious consequences. A huge message socially goes out now. You will be held criminally accountable for that. All of the things were extremely offensive because I said they were. I posts where he was attacking my race and my gender, calling me a DEI hire, because unfortunately in the UK we've seen that kind of rhetoric and that kind of language being used against.
This woman is unbelievable, and this insane interview proves it. She's full of her own self-importance and is basically letting everyone know she is beyond criticism. And the court case proves if you dare say anything she doesn't like, she'll accuse you of racism and misogyny and have you arrested and jailed. And we now have a justice system that backs her up. More proof we are living in a two-tier authoritarian society. I'm no fan of Joey Barton, but he called her a DEI hire. Now apparently that is racism that can land you in jail. I can't say for sure whether she is a DEI hire or not, but it is perfectly reasonable for people to suggest she is, because we know there's an absolute obsession with DEI in this country. I've heard countless people say she's absolutely useless as a commentator, and they post the ridiculous things she's said. The female England football team won the damn Euros tournament, and the first thing some commentators said was, it's not a very diverse team. What they really meant was there's too many white players. If these people are more worried about the skin colour of players than their ability, then it's pretty safe to say it'll be the same with TV presenters. This is a clip from an outlandish interview with Andrew Gold.
With my friend David, we had to learn how to edit. No one does that at the BBC. Just the two of us made a documentary, gave it to the BBC. They screwed us, hardly gave us any money. It won festival awards, won loads of awards, all these different kinds of things. And then when I went back to the BBC and all the production companies, they all said to me, we like your ideas for future documentaries, but you're going to have to be off screen and we're going to have to put someone else in your place who is from a minority background. And that experience is happening to white men that have got in touch with me all around the country. So I get that on a global level.
But what if that person from a minority background is just
they could be really good, but they didn't. They might be. Look, so I came to them after the exorcism story, saying, "Hey, I speak these 5 languages. I've got these mad stories about like weird stuff in Bolivia, weird stuff in Ecuador, Germany's nutcases, and these stories are going to be huge for the BBC and Channel 4 or whoever wants to take these stories." They loved the stories and they loved my previous work, which won loads of awards, but said, you're going to have to be off screen. And they didn't even have, it wasn't like they said, because we love this new minority person who's coming through and is going to be like this striker instead of you, so to speak, right? They just said, the reason we can't have you is because we have too many white men. That's what they said. So it was only because of my ethnicity.
right?
I wasn't allowed to do it.
Okay, Andrew, I'm going to ask you a very honest question now.
Go on.
Okay, so is that your interpretation of what they said, or is that written down as an email as what they said?
They would never write it in an email.
But you see,
Are you saying you don't believe me?
No. I'm asking you because I find it very hard to believe.
We know the BBC actively discriminate against white men, yet she says it's all in his head. Yet she just knows she's in her position because she's earned it. The sheer arrogance of this privileged woman who now wants you arrested if you dare disagree with her. We live in a society where DEI will be shoved down your throat, and if you dare notice or call it out, you may be arrested. I asked my girlfriend about how she feels not seeing many people of Chinese appearance on TV. She replied, it's no big deal, it's fine, though it is nice when they are represented. Well, they hardly ever are, because as I've said, diversity just means fewer white people. That's why when they replace white people on TV with black people, they say it's a great example of diversity. They don't complain there's no other ethnicities represented. I'm not saying there should be no diversity and different people shouldn't be represented on TV, but clearly it's gone way too far now, to the point it's just anti-white racism. Just listen to the sense of entitlement here.
Is of respect for the judge's sentencing decision. My objective really throughout this whole difficult period with this criminal trial was to ensure that Joey Barton was held accountable for his grossly offensive posts about me, about Jeremy Vine, and about Lucy Ward. And I think that the sentence reflects very, very serious consequences. A suspended sentence is a very serious consequence. Community service, fine, and obviously the restraining orders to prevent Joe Barton ever contacting me, Lucy Ward and Jeremy Vine again. So I think in totality, that's what's important to me is that a huge message socially goes out now that actually if you decide to target people online, and you are aggressive in that approach and you bully people online and you attack somebody's race, you will be held criminally accountable for that.
Now, Joey Barton said, "I never meant to hurt anyone. It was a joke, but got out of hand." What is your reaction to those comments?
I don't believe that he never meant to hurt anybody. I think Joey Barton thrives on hurting people, actually. There was evidence in this trial where he had multiple opportunities to stop what he was doing, particularly, in that first week when ITV, one of the biggest broadcasters in the country, came out and said, what you've said about our pundits is unacceptable, and he doubled down. He would have known, Joey Barton would have known all of the things were extremely offensive because I said they were. I came out publicly and said, the impact on me was really damaging. I think he absolutely intended it. He absolutely intended to get the highest amount of engagement that he needed to get to promote a podcast and to go viral with his content. And it backfired on him, and he's been held criminally accountable for what he thought he was going to get away with.
Now, the judge today talked about racially charged and sexist attacks on you. Can you tell me what it was like for you personally when you logged on and saw Joey Barton talking about you as a DEI hire, that's a diversity, equality and inclusion hire, and then the visual way in which he likened you and Lucy Ward to Fred and Rose West? How did that make you feel?
What I would say is that I'm very happy that specifically the posts where he was attacking my race and my gender, calling me a DEI hire, and effectively saying that all of the broadcasters that hired me are also racist for only hiring me for my colour. I'm really glad that that was convicted, because unfortunately in the UK we've seen that kind of rhetoric and that kind of language being used against me as a slur, and against other Black women who work in the public eye as a slur, and that has been amplified. And I think now people need to understand that it is not something that's going to be tolerated in the law. It's racially aggravated, it's racially targeted, and it's not acceptable. And you can be held criminally liable for that.
What have been the consequences for you, the consequences for your professional career from this case?
Well, I mean, of course, I think, it's created quite a hostile environment for me in terms of, certainly in the UK, specifically the UK, actually. I've had a lot of opportunities internationally recently, which I've really enjoyed. And I think the audience is different in a football context internationally. I do want the culture of football in the UK to change. I think there is a lot of sexism, misogyny, racism.
European countries and indeed the UK sending people to jail, or in the case of Joey Barton, it's a suspended sentence for what they tweet and what they say. Do you think today is an example of how free speech isn't unlimited? There do at times have to be legal limits to free speech.
Free speech has never been unlimited. I'm not sure why people maybe were misguided on that. That, in the UK, there's always been harassment laws, there's always been defamation laws. They've been around for a very long time. So, and those are the laws, that we have enacted and relied upon to get the sentence that has been handed down today.